In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the new additions to radiosity in 3ds Max 8. Open the scene radiosity start.max. In this file, we have the gnome's house, which is a mushroom. We're going to calculate a radiosity solution for this scene. As you can see, the scene is lit by a daylight system. So we'll just bring up a render dialog. In the rendering dialog, we'll go to advanced lighting, and radiosity should be already selected for us. There are many new things that radiosity does in 3ds Max 8 now. One of the new features is the adaptive tessellation. This means that the mesh tessellates itself depending on the resolution that's needed by shadows and lighting and things of that nature. This gives us a dense mesh where we have a lot of lighting and a less dense mesh where we have not much lighting at all. You can click on the Start button to calculate the indirect illumination. We've already done that, so we're going to switch to that final radiosity solution. You can hit Start to do it yourself, or you can just open up radiosity finish.max, which is what we're going to do here. You can see that the lighting in the scene has already been calculated, and as you can see, we get a nice natural radiosity solution that gives us bounced light and a nice warm feel on the outside while bouncing some of the green grass up on the mushroom on the exterior. Go into the rendering settings. The first thing to take a look at in interactive tools, we have two spinners for filtering. One is indirect and direct. Previously we just had one spinner, and if we set them down to 0, you'll see that we get these really hard and some jagged lines in the radiosity solution in some of these spots. If we bring up the filtering to 1 or 2, it'll smooth out these spots. Now we have the ability to do that to indirect and direct light independent of each other. So if we adjust this for the direct light filtering and bring it up to 1, it'll smooth out the direct lighting shadows. This can really help you tune your scene so that you can get a smooth look from your radiosity calculations. We'll take a look at the adaptive meshing by turning on edge faces. And as you can see, where there's more lighting or shadow information, the tessellation gets based on that. Out where there's not a lot of object interaction or light bouncing, it's really wide spacing for our polygons, and then we have some really tight tessellation around the shadow areas and where we have a lot of bounce light. The way this is performed is in the radiosity meshing parameters. You'll see Use Adaptive Subdivisions is enabled, and this lets 3ds Max decide where it should tessellate and where it should not. In mesh settings, we have maximum and minimum mesh size, and this is the subdivision level that the engine will use to subdivide the models. We have the contrast threshold, which allows us to determine at what point the mesh will start to be tessellated and at what point we have some contrast. If we adjust this up or down, then we'll get more or less tessellation in contrasting areas. And we have initial meshing size, which is the start size that the engine uses to tessellate. In lighting settings, we can check or uncheck the different lights that can be used to subdivide the meshes. We can also use skylights or self-illuminated faces if we want. That's the basics of the new features we've put into radiosity in 3ds Max 8. It should really improve your workflow and quality of renderings.